DreamHack Open is brought to you by Intel, Corsair, MSI, and Monster Energy.
Hello everyone, welcome back here to game number 2 of the day, of day number 1 here at DreamHack Open November. My name is Blair. We have Frankie missing right now. I don't know where she's gone off to, but joining me is going to be Vu, looking quite ready for the game. I hope you had a bit of a rest because we had a little bit of a longer break there.
Yeah, I've been maxing, relaxing in the crib. Apparently Frankie's been relaxing a little bit too much as apparently there's some technical difficulties or something. But hopefully we can get this game going. AGF versus Apeks, which is, two teams that have played each other fairly recently, actually.
Yeah, we do have these two teams, and I feel like storyline-wise, both these teams have a couple of interesting things. Obviously, for Apeks, it is of course one of the boys, Jakim, who has made his home with his Norwegian brothers, albeit they do have a Swede in there as well. Your thoughts on this team?
Yeah, the boys. I mean, Jakim has been trying to bring back some style to the scene that he grew up and graduated from, trying to pull an Alu, I guess. And you can definitely see the team is playing quite a bit differently since he's joined up on the roster. I mean, they were bringing back Inferno before he joined up, but that used to be one of their permabans. They've adjusted slightly on some other maps as well, and they've definitely been on the upswing. So hopefully that continues for them, and maybe they can get some revenge for their previous loss to AGF.
We did, of course, have the game earlier today with Spirit versus Floscola, where it was a bit of a surprise on map number 2. I mean, I was surprised myself, almost taking that second map of Nuke over the likes of Team Spirit, but with that loss, they will now be heading to the lower bracket elimination game, which is going to be taking place later on. But before we talk about that, we of course have game number 1 done and dusted for Group B. Gambit coming out on top, pretty convincing win, all things considered. Coming up next, of course, on Group B, that is going to be on the B stream. It's going to be Nemiga facing off against Kova. I don't know about you, Vu, but I feel like this Group B is a little bit more tricky to predict compared to Group A.
Yeah, I mean, you expect Gambit to pretty easily dispatch of Illuminar, but I think they're a bit of a sleeper pick. Like, I think them taking a map or even maybe, a series would be a stretch, but at least a map off of Gambit wouldn't have been crazy. It's definitely I'd say the skill levels in that group are a little bit more balanced. You're going to see some pretty good games, and Gambit out on top. Most likely, you're going to see Gambit, Spirit as the two favorites.
Of course, and speaking of groups, Group A, we do have this game coming up. We can probably talk a little bit more about AGF now, since we've spoken about Apeks. And the news is, of course, I think I have Frankie in my ear. I think I can hear Frankie. I'm not sure if she's going to be jumping in, but we do have the map veto here. And since I am the temporary host right now, I'm going to give this your way, Vu. Which way do you think this one's going to go?
Well, if you look at their last series, it went to Mirage, Train, Inferno. And all 3 maps were close. It wouldn't be crazy to see something similar here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it actually went to Dust 2. I mean, I was surprised when AGF versus Apeks the first time didn't go the way of Dust 2. Nuke feels like an obvious ban because it's just not going to go well, or hasn't gone well in the past for Apeks. And there you can see Vertigo ban from AGF, Nuke ban from Apeks. Apeks last time around picked Mirage. I would expect them to pick... Oh, they do pick Mirage, Inferno there as well. And map number 3 could be Train, could be Dust 2, could be Overpass. I'm surprised that it was Mirage again from Apeks, as they seem like a really strong Dust 2 team. And the Mirage game they played against AGF recently wasn't that convincing. It was a very close game.
I feel like I'm a little surprised that maybe Train didn't potentially get picked by Apeks. I feel like by AGF rather. It could have been a punish pick, but then again, I guess I'm not feeling that comfortable there. Anything that stands out for you? Because for me personally, this looks like what I imagine would be the maps. But I do agree with you. It could have been a potential Dust 2 coming out at the end there. But Inferno Mirage Overpass, I feel like it's going to be kind of a comfort map for both the teams, at least when it comes to the picks. And if it comes down to the final map, it's up in the air here.
Well, if you look at the way Inferno went in their previous series, AGF dominated Banana, absolutely, and Apeks kind of pulled some rounds out, partially off the back of Jacob with some nice rounds, with some kind of lucky, to be honest, gamble stacks. So I gotta say that AGF, they should probably come out on top on Inferno. That could have been a pretty one-sided affair the last time around, even though the scoreline ended up being 16-12. I could have seen AGF pick that one up, something like 16-8. Then you go on to Mirage, and that should be going the way of Apeks, but still, that was a very close affair last time around as well. Map 3 Overpass, that's a map that I've seen some notable changes in the way they play since they picked up Jacob. They're playing it notably different, a lot more focus on connector. See how that pays off for them playing it against AGF.
Well, I mean, speaking of AGF, one thing we have to touch upon is the fact, of course, we do have the vote in the chat for those of you watching from home on Twitch, hashtag Apeks, and of course, hashtag AGF for who you're going to be supporting. But very quickly, I mean, Vu, Christo, he's been called up by North. He's going to be playing for North, if I'm not mistaken, in DreamHack Masters, which is going to be starting on Monday. Now, that means they don't have much time to really prep, but North have been kind enough to allow him to continue playing this tournament with AGF. That means it's got to be a bit of a question mark. Like, does he have time to really prep and, prep for this tournament, or is he going to be busy playing, practicing with North in his free time for the Masters event, right? So that's a big question mark right there for Christo and AGF, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the agreement was made in April that he would go to North and be kind of on the sidelines playing for AGF, but, going back to North and having weekly progress reports. I'd be interested to see exactly what that looked like, how they got to this point where they're going to give him the call up. If there really was, weekly progress reports, he really was working towards something, or this is the type of thing where they just had him kind of on the sidelines in case MSL minus MSL plus MSL minus MSL came around once more and they needed an offer to pick up the show, because in theory, he doesn't need too much prep time, right, with North if he's already been prepping. But in reality, you never know with these press releases if this is actually how it went down.
Well, I do want to know what's really gone down with the other team we spoke about earlier, Apeks. And instead of us just rambling about it, we have Jacob with a few words of his own.
Really looking forward to play a decent tournament again. I've had a couple of months where I haven't been playing in, a good tournament, more like just like online random tournaments. So I'm really looking forward to it. We have had some time to practice, so I think we're a little bit prepared as well. So it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to it. It's only 8 teams. It's not a 16-team tournament, so playoffs shouldn't be impossible, so I'm aiming at least for playoffs. Apeks, before I even joined, they have been the best team in Norway for a couple of years, and we're aiming to participate in a lot of international tournaments and become like a good team, for sure. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing versus AGF again. I think this time we're gonna beat them. They took us last time, but it's time for a revenge. And I think everyone is looking forward to it. I think we are prepared more this time than last time. We have practiced more than last time, so it's gonna be a good game, but I think we're gonna win.
Well, we don't know if they're going to win, but we do know that I am back. Boys, thank you so much. I thought the worst thing that was going to happen to me is this massive spot that's, I can't even say it, it's growing between my eyebrows, but it turns out no, it's me not able to operate a headset, it turns out. And there's no buttons on it, so it's obviously not keyboard and mouse, and that's my problem. So,
Listen,
Jake,
I'm just happy you're here to save me, Frankie.
I could see,
yeah,
I can lip read, I can see that you were doing a fabulous job, the two of you. Vu, obviously this is the initiation to DreamHack Open. We got to throw you in at the deep end. And Apeks, Jacob, he's being kind of thrown in at the deep end. He has played a few matches with Apeks. We don't think we've seen their full potential yet, right? But do you think that he's going to come alive on the server today, Vu?
I mean, if you look at the way he played the last time around these teams met, he dropped nearly 100 ADR, nearly 80 kills. He's been lighting things up since he came to Apeks, and perhaps that's the change that kind of he was looking forward to really kind of bring something back to his scene. And if you listen to interviews, you've been told that when he left FaZe, he really wasn't like a shell of a player, and motivation is big for him. So going to a team like Apeks and being motivated like that could be what brings this team to the top, or, you know, tier 1.
But his firepower alone could not convert things into a win for them last time they met AGF. I'm curious about Dennis Blair. He has done bits of in-game leadership in the past, but it's not necessarily a role I associate him with. Like, what kind of leader do you think he's going to be for these guys?
Well, it's been very meddling for me personally, right? You look at the results they've had recently. Yes, I have to agree, Jacob has been fantastic. But then again, if you look at the results, it's very, very iffy. They've played 12 matches so far. They've only won 4 out of them. Out of 27 maps played, winning just 10 maps. The only good convincing win for me over a top-tier opposition would be the best-of-1 win they had over Heroic a while ago. I think it was the Elisa Invitational, which was the best-of-1, which was an overtime with Inferno. Apart from that, the results really haven't shown anything. So despite the fact that AGF are basically playing their final tournament with Crystal, I'm actually going to give AGF the lead, the edge over here, because they seem to be the better team overall, despite the names being bigger on the side of Apeks.
Well, let's take the opportunity to hear from Fargan. He is the coach of AGF. I want to see what he's going to tell us about this team.
We're really looking forward to this tournament. It's going to be our biggest one yet, scale-wise and exposure-wise. Looking at the groups, I would say we want to make it out of it. We faced Apeks a lot of times. Last tournament we beat them 2-1. Best case scenario, we beat Apeks 2 times and are through to the playoffs. From there, anything can happen. Gambit and some of the other teams in the other group is a tough opponent as well. So making out of groups is first priority. The last time we faced Apeks, Jacob showed up to play, so let's hope he doesn't do that 2 times in a row. Then it's gonna be a stomp on our behalf, on them, of course.
Fargan, the fighting talk, I'm liking it. You need to work on it a little bit, but it's getting there. But Blair, AGF, yes. They've had successful results against Apeks in the past. Fargan's trying to say that it's going to be a stomp this time. And actually, I'm kind of convinced. I actually do think these young guns have got it in them. Do you?
Oh yeah, I have to agree with you on that. They have played a lot of Counter-Strike. I think over about 120 games or maps played over the past 6 months. They do play a lot of online Counter-Strike. Yes, the caveat being most of the opposition isn't top tier. But then again, for the side of Apeks, if you take away Jacob and Dennis, you know, star power wise, they're not that well known as a team, as players individually, like Marcelius, Grisar, Nasty. Heard a couple of them. Nasty's actually playing as a trial player as well. So you know what, AGF, despite, like I mentioned, Kristoff probably playing the final tournament with them right now, I think they're the better team, at least in this particular matchup.
Although, I have to say, in November, the team has struggled against Tier 3 competition, Tricked, SJ Gaming, LDLC, Azako Balls. They've lost to all of these teams. Vu, does that give you confidence in these young players?
I'm confident that Jacob is going to do great things against AGF here. He's done it in the past. Hopefully do it again. AGF, yeah, they have been struggling a little bit. I mean, their last matchup against Apeks was very recently, so you can't draw too much out of it. But I might be leaning the way of Apeks here.
Okay, well, we are going to do our official predictions, so you've got a few seconds if you want to change your mind, Vu. So I'm going to come to Blair first.
Look, Jacob is the biggest name in the server, right? But I also like to believe, since we don't have a Zybu or a Simple in the server, that, it's a team-based game. So I'm going to go to side with AGF. I think they do have the edge. However, it's going to be close affair.
All right then, Boo.
I'm going to give it to Apeks 2-1. I think AGF could definitely take it 2-0. I think Mirage is going to be a very close affair. Should be an easy win, you would think, for AGF on Inferno. So if it goes 3 maps, I think overpass the edges to Apeks. So I'm going to give it to Apeks 2-1.
I really don't know which way to go with this one. Because I was thinking AGF, but then I was thinking about the players they have. I just don't know about Dennis in-game leading. So I'm actually going to say AGF because I think they've been practicing, they've been playing a lot for this moment. They've obviously been a team for a much more extensive period of time. So I'm going to say AGF, but I'm going to say it's going to be 2-1. If we got some predictions from Twitch chat, I would like to see what you guys are saying out there. We do. Oh, Apeks, okay, 71%. I have a feeling we've got some of the former 100 Thieves fans in the chat. AGF with a 29%. But will you be right, Twitch chat? Well, you are going to find out very shortly because after this break, we will have our fabulous casters, Tom and Vince. So do not go anywhere.
Hello, and welcome back. We're going to be going into DreamHack November, of course, our second match. I'm joined by Vince, and we're moving along a little bit. Hopefully, I was going to say a slightly closer affair, Vince, with this one, but realistically, our last map went to overtime, so if it's too much closer, I think we'll be here a while.
No, absolutely, but I think we expect this to be closer throughout the duration of the best of 3. The last one was kind of stops and starts. We had a very one-sided start, then it kind of got a lot closer. But for me, this is almost a 50-50, Tom, and I'm a little bit perplexed as to the sort of veto on the picks and bans. I think there's a couple of head-scratching moments here. I genuinely think this could easily go 3 maps, and we actually could have a real close affair on our hands.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be inclined to agree. We're going to see a little bit of early control battle for, of course. That's the way that we normally see this go on Inferno. And actually, a couple of players peeking into the apartments, but it seems like it's going to be a B play.
Yeah, Nasty's tossed down the smoke just to try and bypass all these threats, but still gets drilled through the smoke. And that leaves Dennis all alone on the site, somewhat of a god with the pistols in bygone ages in Counter-Strike, but he's not going to be able to reign over this round at least. Marcelios instantly in with a headshot, but he also will fall prey. AGF keeping themselves in the lead, and that lead is huge. Both Jacob and Gross both taking that flush to the head, being chunked down, walking out into the lion's den, and they are being devoured by TMB, who is having no mercy. The Norwegians looking like they should be posting up the first round, but actually AGF come out stronger. They will take the first and put themselves in the lead.
Yeah, good start from them. And I want to see more of this team. I think we've got some names on the other side of things when it comes to Apeks that we're going to be a little bit more familiar with. And I think I kind of want to almost touch on what Frankie said. She said, oh, we've got Jacob being thrown in at the deep end. I would almost say the opposite. This is like putting a shark in a paddling pool. Like, I expect this man to be the biggest player in the server. And maybe it's going to be different to what we had previously. Obviously, he was alongside players like JKS, who have been at the very top of Counter-Strike for years and years now. Moving into this team, he's got to be the big man on the block, I guess. We're going to look at Dennis as well, but obviously he has the caveat of in-game leading. So he needs to be the star. And if they're going to build on this roster, I think they've dedicated a lot of money and 3 years to this man to bring things back to Norway. He's got to be as good as, well, he was last time, I guess you could say.
I agree. They're definitely looking for a big performance from him, but we've already seen these teams trade results in the past. It is Apeks that come out first. Christo, though, puts an end to that killing streak and goes one better. The Danes looking good to convert their pistol into a 2-0. And even though Apeks can try and remedy the situation with some of their force-bought players and a MAC-10 alongside them now that Dennis has picked up, the T's actually backing away. They are backing away, though, Tom, into the site with 2 of the 3 players. This could still get sketchy.
Yeah, they've just put a smoke down as well, so extra time being bought, hiding behind it, and they're actually not rotating any players off. A lot of the time you might think, okay, there's a smoke down late in the round, there's only going to be 1 player here. They're trying to almost bait us into going back in the other direction. Instead, this time, it's almost like the fake stack. Nice shot from Nasty, at least initially, and I don't think they expect Jacob, who lands the first. This gives some time for Dennis. He was renowned for a time for being the pistol king, but he's not given a chance. TMB, a risky peek, but one that works nonetheless.
Yeah, that round really was fraught with a bunch of risky moments. They conceded the first with an exquisite 5-7 shot from Marcelios in the apps, and you were thinking, okay, here we go, Apeks going to start to show why many people would have sort of touted them to take this down, but instantly AGF did not give them any wiggle room at all. I mean, when you go on the world rankings, by the way, we were saying this is a 50-50. This is ranked 68th versus 69th. It just does not get any closer than this.
See if they do go toe-to-toe. I think that the difference is, though, is we're looking at an AGF who are about to lose one off, if not their best player. And we're looking at an Apeks who have just signed a massive player for their roster. Like, everything they've had in comparison to this, like, Dennis was sort of, I don't want to say falling off, but he was on a downward trend, whereas you look at the guys at 100 Thieves, and if they were still playing in North America, they would be competing right now. It's not a question. Like, that was a very, very good team and a shame to be lost. Of course, the benefits are that we get to see JKS playing in complexity, and okay. Jacob and Grass making this one expensive. Jacob's just found another one. He gets his third with a P250. He doesn't even have armor. This is utterly ridiculous. The coach of AGF was worried about this man, and there is a reason behind that worry. 40 seconds left, and now Grust closes it. I don't understand, Vince. Enjoy breaking that one down.
You know, sometimes, Tom, I think it's just best to enjoy the beauty or the mayhem, depending on which way you look at it. You mentioned it's like a shark in a paddling pool. Well, he's just burst it wide open. Those P250 headshots were ridiculous. And our Apeks, after just getting basically battered down for 2 rounds and saying how the Danes were looking pretty sharp, well, that's wrecked their economy. All that momentum, the confidence that was building up has now been brought back down to a crushing halt. Marcelios has missed his chance and loses 50% of his HP as a result. But AGF still need to make ground, and they still need to contend with 3 CTs on the A side of the map.
Get a little bit dicey. The pit position, though, is normally where you put, well, the man to beat, I would say. It's always hard to clear. A couple of kills coming back in response, though. If they can somehow clear Gruss from this position, they have a good chance of winning the round, and Frostlev will do just that. Somehow, even after the initial frags, this has ended up in a 2 versus 2. An AWP's been retrieved, an AK as well for TMB, and he's going to kill off Jacob. It looks disjointed from Apeks, and they get picked apart. That is a poor round to lose.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a crushing body blow. You just win a round that you pretty much shouldn't have had a hope in hell's chance of picking up, basically off Jacob landing a crazy 3K, and then you instantly just get picked off when everything was going in your favor. The buy from AGF was poor. They pushed on the site that had most of Apeks sat there waiting for them. They sprung the trap, but there was too many holes in the netting. And AGF now have just absolutely blitzed their economy. It's only an M4 they've picked up. It is on Jacob, who's certainly the player that you'd want in this kind of a situation, but 3 Deegs alongside it. And I can't really think of how many situations could be in a worse shape for the CT start to Inferno. Like, you've literally just wrecked your own economy with how you've played.
Well, they've gone for a CT simple, which I don't know I've ever seen before. It's not a common thing. Like, maybe you get an AWP every once in a while if you've got a lot of cash just to try and take these riskier peaks. I also don't like the way that they're playing this. I don't know if this is just a plan of, like, we will all sacrifice ourselves so that Jacob may thrive. but that was 2 different players peeking 2 different angles individually and just handing easy kills over. If they're going to play like this throughout the match, I'm really worried for Apeks, because even in these sort of anti-eco rounds, normally you talk about maybe a flash being invested, you try and pop it, you peek together, or you wait in the crossfire. That's now the 3rd player that's just peeked exactly the same angle, and AGF have just gone, well, let's just not move. Let's just stand perfectly still. However, this is the one thing we were waiting for, and unfortunately, this time it's only 1.
Yeah, there weren't enough pieces for Jacob to play behind. And I completely alongside you. The reason why you go for that sort of hero, the raid boss, or whatever you want to call it on the T side, is that you can spearhead and dictate the pace of how the round goes down. You can rush a site, rush a particular weak position as a 5-man unit, basically as a fist, and try and punch straight through the defense. When you're on the CT side, you're playing way more reactionary. So if you are going to go for that, you need to actually take some aggression. You need to maybe play down banana, play down middle. And I agree, just basically sitting in mid and peeking 1 by 1, it actually just plays your own weaknesses, not your strengths. That was a very odd decision, but hey, they've got to buy now regardless. It's without an AWP, which could be a bit of an issue, but plenty of utility and plenty of rifles to play with.
Well, we'll see if this is going to be the turning point. And a fairly passive stance, at least on banana. I don't. That's a weird one. Like, you've not thrown any utility to deny a peek, so they just walked up. That's the easiest kill they're going to get all day. A bit of a misplay from Nasty, and now they're going to try and pressure elsewhere. Marcelicious will at least be able to find a trade, but the bomb in the meantime has made its way up banana. However, the CTs have decided to split their defense, rotate Dennis over to support, and for now, well, you go back a few years, and this is probably one of the scariest B-site defenses you're ever going to see.
Yeah, this really is winding back time quite a bit, isn't it? Cristal does take quite a lot of damage, though, down to 10 HP as he looks to try and peek through on middle. Undeterred by the damage that he received. Flash out from Marcelio, sees nothing. Bit of information has been gathered, but not much else, and plenty of time still for the Danes. But with a well-placed smoke that will thwart that push and forces them back over onto B. So that bygone era of a godly B hold will be tested, Tom.
Well, there's hopes, at least, I would say. Jacob, I like this. They've doubled up into the same position. There should be a Molotov for this, well, there normally is, and now they're both going to be forced out of the angle. They actually managed to survive a little longer than expected, but Dennis wide swings after the Molotov pushes him out. And yeah, all it took was 1 piece of utility. That's the risk. Normally you need to have some sort of counter smoke to try and deny that. And then you can play that sort of bait, because the idea is a good one. You go, okay, if 2 people play the same spot, one of us peeks, you're only going to expect 1. You're not going to be like, oh, there's another guy behind this box. But yeah, the final Molotov thrown by AGF was perfectly placed. And I have to say, so far, it's almost a bit what I expected. Like, AGF are like a methodical team. They've been sort of built and slowly been working, grinding, like lots of matches played and improving gradually. Whereas Apeks, if you look at the individual pieces, like, I would say that the pieces they have, mainly based on the likes of Jacob and Dennis, are going to be the better roster. So the problem with that is, especially on a map like Inferno, you're going to have trouble with rotations. You really need to have these sort of gamble stacks correct and take map control away. Whereas thus far, they've almost allowed the Danes to execute onto them. And if I've learned anything from Counter-Strike, you don't want to let the Danes execute.
Last time these two met on this map, TMB dropped a 2 kill to death ratio with a 30 bomb. So there you go. Will he be repeating? So far 7-2 and with 3 assists. He's had a good start as TMB. And Apeks, that CT side, has definitely left a lot to be desired, Tom. Their one round as well, again, is that miracle play from Jacob. These aren't the kind of situations that you can categorically rest on and rinse and repeat for guaranteed success. So I'm going to need to see a lot more from this CT side. It's still early days, of course, but they're already running the risk, if they cannot be successful in the next couple of rifle rounds, of this actually turning into a crazy strong half for AGF.
Yeah, and this is always going to be the worry with a new team. I think CT sides always become very difficult. People playing new positions, trying to fit into the roster, and Well, you've also got another player on trial at the same time as Jacob coming back. Grass, though, this is a pretty decent start. And actually, Dennis, formerly the Pistol King, has managed to find one with the 5-7. From absolutely nowhere, the potential of a flawless round actually looks likely. Nasty spotted the last man, and he knows time. That's all he needs to buy. Slow things down as much as possible. He's almost definitely going to die here. And there's... Okay, never mind. You know what? If you can win a duel with a P250 and no armor consistently, well, the Counter-Strike's about to change.
So their 2 rounds have both been won in very lackluster purchases. This time they did have some assault rifles, but look at that big sweep in economy. They've picked up 3 AKs. They have an AWP as well from the hands of AGF. They have just boomed their economy. Meanwhile, 2 players on AGF, they're down to $0. But can they make the most of this, Tom? Can they keep it going forward? Nasty is looking to do just that. Foot to the throat, straight down Banana, taking TMB out of the equation, smoking down, and now that Banana control may force AGF into a bit of desperation. They get aggressive through one short, not been punished just yet, but now Marcelios pulls the trigger, and Lucky has been sent reeling. And AGF don't really have any momentum to play behind. They've been stalled completely out.
Yeah, they've lost way too much map control. Now we move into that classic sort of 1-4 scenario. Now, there's a reason you do normally have an AWPer in this sort of situation, but Nasty's goal here is just to spot the players, use some utility and fall back. Netric, though, they both peek him. And actually, Nasty's gone down on the other side of the map at the same time. It's all folded in a matter of seconds, and there's now only 2 players left to try and clutch this out. Jacob hopes for something through the smoke. He's going to walk straight into Christo, and... Wow, that was a 5-on-3, which now has 1 man left from the 5. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Tom, I'm getting deja vu. We said the same thing last time around when Apeks pull out this round from nowhere against the grain, against the flow, then they instantly, in the round that follows it up, basically just throw it away by being aggressive, by out-positioning themselves. That was, I'm scratching my head right now, wondering what the hell is going on. Now, fortunately, because they did bolster their own economy by taking that round down and picking up so many rifles, they can come straight back in with another one. But they need to make it work, and Marcelios has his head removed.
Oh, this is a bit of an awkward spot for Netric to be in. He's going to stick around. Nasty seems to just take the biggest risks I think I've ever seen. Okay, never mind. Take it back. What's going on? Oh, Grass with a freebie. Flash through the smoke doing absolutely nothing. This is a mess of a round, and eventually he's going to be overwhelmed. It leaves Jacob 1 versus 3. Half of his kills so far have been with the P250, but, you know, if anybody's going to be able to win this, it probably would be this man. However, no kit, no utility, and not a whole lot of time to play with. Although there's 2 kits in middle.
Yeah, you can pick up a kit, and there is an incendiary alongside it. First player, TMB, goes in peeking. AWP now picked up, wants that 1-tap potential. Incendiary to the back of the site, flicking across, but misses his shot. And with that missed shot, that should be the end. And Jacob realizes it. He has the AK. He will dart away. There won't be a great buy alongside this, if there's any buy at all. We'll see what their money looks like after this. They've got a few players at the $3,000 to $4,000 mark. Maybe Jacob can drop one across, but you're looking at a real bargain bucket buy. And meanwhile, AGF, 7-2 lead. And again, they get the rifles, Tom. They walk out, and AGF punish them.
We've also seen a few rounds now where Nasty will get a pick on Banana, and he just doesn't seem to fall back well enough. Like that's one of the things that I think takes a lot of skill is getting your timings right if you're playing Banana. The problem is if you don't have those timings, you shouldn't be buying Banana. Like that's pretty much the rule of thumb. Like he gets a pick, sticks around, and gets naded out of position. The round before, he was a solo B player. He gets picked off. And now they're trying a few spicy things. Of course, this is a pistol round. It's a lot more forgivable, but you can't play Inferno well, at least, if you don't have those timings correct. And for now, AGF are having a field day just being able to pick him apart each time.
Yeah, this is reminiscent of the performance we saw from Spirit on Nuke, where it felt like they were a bit desperate and they were overextending, over-peaking. But here, AGF, they've been clinical in how they've cleaned up any opportunities that Apeks have afforded them. It's taken 2 marvelous rounds of individual brilliance to get Apeks, this Norwegian-Swedish hybrid lineup, in the position to win rounds. And apart from that, AGF have just been head and shoulders above Apeks. Like, if you came into this and you asked me, Tom, okay, which of these 2 teams is ranked higher? I'm thinking AGF are ranked higher by about 30 or 40 world ranking positions. I'm not saying that they're super close. It has been so one-sided so far.
Yeah, I think this is something I've learned as well about, like, if you go down even to like the 7th, the 8th, the 9th best Danish team, although you may not have like your stars, like looking at, say, Heroic having a Testis, or you might not have a device or something like that, the overall protocols of Danish teams doesn't actually fall off that far. Whereas if, say, for example, if you look at the 10th best CIS team, well, for me and you, obviously not so much, maybe for someone like Blair, you'll be ripping your hair out after you get down that far because they're going to be playing very, very aggressive Counter-Strike. But the thing with Danish teams, like, even if you look at some of the coaches, for example, like, I remember I watched I think it was the Lyngby Vikings, who I don't blame you if you don't know who they are. I was like, oh, who do I recognize from this team? And then I think it was Fetish was their coach. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I know him. Like, and that's the thing. It goes much deeper in a region like Denmark to just have these good protocols, have good setups. And, well, that's why Danish Counter-Strike is pretty much the best in the world.
Well, it's continuing to thrive in this round 2, Tom, but it may be the Swede and that age-old rivalry that can come out ahead, or perhaps not. He's been quelled and silenced. Grus still alive, albeit on 38 HP, and Marcelios with his AWP hasn't really had much impact, if any. And these certainly aren't the kind of rounds where you want the AWP getting up close on the B retake. This is such a difficult decision to make, to go save when you're eyeing up a 9-2 deficit, but let's be honest, they don't really have any other options. They're looking for some exit frags, looking to try and punish AGF, who have a pretty swelling economy now. Bristow will be around the $10,000 mark, looking for Frosleff, who goes straight through into the head of Gross, and now Marcelios has to just save by pulling back and running, tucking his tail between his legs. The Danes already just shy of double digits, and keep in mind as well that they started on the T side, that this is their choice of map, so you don't expect to see them slow down when the roles reverse and the halftime comes.
Yeah, this is getting past the point of worrying. Now, we can be honest and say that recently, especially in the online era, things have changed a little bit. I might have to be quiet here because it looks like we're going back to another one of these spicy rounds. Is it going to be another mixed buy win? Somehow Marcelius is just peeking in and out of this smoke while they're distracted. He's going to find himself a multi-frag of 3, but the fact is, 3's not enough. He needs 4. A 1v1, TMB with the bomb. He's been excellent so far. 124 ADR with the 12 kills. And while Marcelicious is going round the world, rotating all the way back to the A site, and his opponent hasn't moved.
I actually loved that play. He underarm smoked as if he was faking it. He was rotating straight to A and then just stood his ground. He wanted to see if Marcelios went down banana. Didn't note this, has another smoke he can throw to the CT side, and he can see Marcelios completely bit down on this fake. He rotated instantly to A. The second this turned into a 1v1, he was off. And I was just saying before how he's had very little impact in this game. Well, this could be a huge moment in this best of 3 that really wakes him up. You want your AWPer to be feeling it. Smoke onto the site. It's not a good smoke, though. I'm not sure that's extended far enough. Can he be spotted from TMB's perspective? I think he may just be spotted. Grenade goes through, does negligible damage. Marcelios comes back on to the site, sticks it. Here comes the spray. He's gone for the full defuse, and TMB doesn't realize it, but with the last bullet, with a millisecond to go, he does deny the defuse, and AGF hit 10 first.
That almost looks like the biggest flex of all time. Like, oh, it's defusing. I'll just reload in the middle of it. Obviously not on purpose, but yeah, this was a nice play from Marcelios. Again, we talk about these rounds where they have weaker purchases. They get aggressive down mid. It gives almost a perfect distraction for the other players, or Marsilius, I should say, to get some work done. The thing is, though, these rounds in isolation, especially if they're not being won, are not going to change the face of this game. There's still plenty of money for AGF to buy in this round and the next. And, well, at this point, we're getting towards the end of the half, and they've already got 10 rounds. Even with a slight change to Inferno being a little bit more T-sided, not this much.
No, absolutely not. Looking for the CTs to be posting up a lot more rounds than this. It's just been the case of the manner in which these rounds have come down as well that will be an alarm bell ringing, looming overhead if you're an Apeks fan. Double ups in play, just the one kit though on Dennis. Plenty of utility, but can they finally make one of these rifle rounds work? Because when it comes to full rifles, they have been unsuccessful on every single turn. Wide swing from Christo, taking off the head of Dennis, but he gets punished, overextends, and Jacob closes his eyes. And now Nasty in a bit of an off angle. Right idea. Beautiful spray. Takes down 2. Drops the bomb alongside it. He's running out of ammunition, but still stands his ground with the USP. And it's another huge individual performance from Nasty, but joined and accompanied by Jacob that gets them 3.
Yeah, a better round for them for sure. I actually quite like the fact that we're not seeing a massive overextension in towards Banana anymore. I think that was one of the main issues, just using utility a little bit more to try and deny AGF what have been some fairly easy executions. They haven't actually come across much. Dennis, though, he's going all the way down. An instant headshot onto Christo as well, so start things off with a man advantage. And it seems like this time, now that they've achieved it at least, they are going to be a little bit more passive. That's as much damage as a nade can do. Caught in his pocket, down to 34 HP. And now we have this 4-man stack. The only thing that worries me a little bit in this sort of situation is because Marcelicious doesn't have any banana control, the rotation will take a very long time. He does land the shot, though, while flat.
Yeah, and as you were highlighting, that was a key frag to pick up. If he misses that, there's a ton of grenades that find their way onto CT. As it stands, they can boost up Nasty, a position that AGF have not seen so far. And when you only have 3 players and a lot of different angles to cover, this is one of the angles that may go unchecked, but it's a beautiful flash. They don't even smoke it. They don't telegraph the push. That is such an exquisite idea from AGF. They focus the smoke instead onto Coffin, catching off with the flashbang and now open up some avenues. They're still down players though. And Apeks may be able to make the most of that. 3-on-2. Frost left still alive on 5 HP. And Lucky alongside him instantly goes in for a brisk headshot, looking to wrap around the side. They don't know where these last 2 CTs are now, but Dennis has made his presence felt. And look at that. Ice running through his veins, barely even react.
Oh, I almost like that. It was literally like nothing happened with his day. Maybe he's just like, that would be the true like big brain players. If you don't want yourself on camera, you just loop it. Like you just send them a looped feed. So actually he'll just celebrate at the wrong time in about 5 minutes time. So it's all planned. But yeah, they've actually managed to break AGF going into the latter stages of this half. It's a 10-5 with a pistol win. It's not over. Like Apeks can bring this one back on the T side. And as I said, like when you have a brand new roster with a couple of players in there, I think T-sides, if you have someone who's calling well, if Dennis does the job properly, they could still bring this back because it's much more basic. You just do basic, okay, let's do this, rather than having your set spots, rotations, which can be quite difficult on a map like Inferno.
Sure. And, sometimes teams just start slow. We see it time and time again. So maybe that second half will be more interesting. Grusto is looking to push them into a 5th round. Still on Graveyard, burying as many oncoming Ts as possible, putting up the blockade, but finally he will fall. And now Nasty 1-on-3 gets the drop on the first player. Is smoked off, can't deny the bomb plant, decides to go aggressive through the smoke. And unfortunately, AGF were up to the task. Will 4 rounds be enough for Apeks? Find out after this break.
So don't come around here feeling lit. Like a record on rotation, I'll leave you hit. Can't incriminate myself, so let me plead the fifth. I ain't saying one word like I ain't got a lit. Passport stamped out, it looks like the travel. I wanna see more in the world than Big Apple. Sad song, funeral nights and street chapel. So we don't give up. 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 So don't come around here feeling lit. Like a record on rotation, I'll leave you hit. Can't incriminate myself, so let me plead the fifth. I ain't saying one word like I ain't got a lit. Passport stamped out, it looks like the travel. I wanna see more in the world than Big Apple. Sad song, funeral nights and street chapel. So we don't give up.
Lackluster is a word that certainly springs to mind for Apex's CT side, but we had some question marks over some fairly aggressive moments there, Tom. Maybe on the T side, that's where it really unlocks the ability on this squad.
I hope so. I imagine some of the players on this team aren't exactly cheap. You want to see results, even if it is very, very early on. I don't know how many opportunities you're going to get. I'm open with, well, arguably some weaker opponents than you'd normally see. Qualifying next time might not be so easy. And while we already know that we've got a young, hungry Swedish roster waiting in our lower bracket match, our elimination match. And you don't want to be heading down there because they've already proven versus Spirit they can definitely do the numbers. But either way, we have got our pistol round well underway, although not much map control taken just yet from the T side. A few battles in the early stages and a crossfire setup around the arch side, which could be problematic. However, utility now dwindling on both sides. A couple of nades still available over on that B side, but it's going to be A that's pressured.
P2000 of all weapons, not something you see as often as Gross drops to his death. He was tanked up so heavily that gravity did the rest. And now Dennis starting to shine a little bit more. Nasty had a slow start, but a great finish to the half. He's the next to be reeled out. 2v2, some utility at disposal of AGF. Flash and a smoke, Fnatic, and a kit to boot. Meanwhile, Jacob taking the flashbang, looks to his teammate to try and help him out. Maybe he doesn't require any help. Smoke down onto the site. Netric can try and play some mind games. Needs to connect a headshot, but does miss out. And Apeks will pick up the second pistol. And again, you would have never known it from Jacob's reaction. He is super chill.
I suppose we are currently expecting emotion from the Nordic region, which it's not what it's renowned for. I think maybe our producer Dagny's taken a lot of that away. Like she's claimed it for the whole of the region. But nonetheless, we have a Bison. That is all.
Well, alrighty then. 64 bullets of doom and misery. Certainly able to inflict it on your foes if they were to go down to a Bison. Not something you see too often. Taking run and gun to the next level. But it's actually Gross that's taken a lot of damage early on, down to 25. This is a full buy. Only Christo has decided not to go all in. Obviously, he wants to get that AWP as soon as possible. But AGF have enough threats that Apeks have got to make sure that they respect. And we saw how they slipped and slided in the first half. After getting early rounds, they were then punished and their economy was sent into a horrible spot. Christo puts the bullet downrange to the head of Marcelios, and it's not even the low gross that took that. So they still have to deal with that. They've got middle control, and it is against only one player, basically, as Lucky has incorrectly assumed that this is going to be a B play alongside his 3 players that have stacked over there. So how will Christo do? I wonder if Apeks try and wrap around towards B. If Lucky does connect a headshot, this could send the round into such an awkward position. He stays alive. 25 seconds. Christo's already picked up tons of kills in this game, but he goes down to the hand of Dennis. A 3-on-3 falls upon us, but Apeks making the most of AGF's over-aggression.
Yeah, like Jacob there to clean up the mess, make sure that nobody gets them on the flank and deny any further pushes. Looks like there is going to be an attempt to go for this. There's a couple of smokes still available to them, but after no real early success. Oh yeah, save the Bison. It did absolutely nothing in this round, but make sure you keep it into the next one. That'll be the funny thing. I wonder if he will drop the Bison to an unarmored player, which is probably the most toxic thing you could ever do to anybody. Yeah, play a glass cannon Bison, or if he'll drop his 5-7, because I guarantee if you're not the person who buys a Bison, you do not want to keep the Bison.
That's very true. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So he's dropped the 5-7. Yeah, he holds on to the Bison. He's got the armor, so the aim punch won't be an issue. What do they get alongside it? So they've dropped the Deagle as well that TMB had. So pretty much everybody other than Christo has some form of upgraded weapon, and they can be a threat again. I want to see if Netric tries to get aggressive with this Bison, man. I want to see if he tries to take this up close. The answer is a disappointing no. Instead, he's perching up on the boost position on the box. This is a solid spot where you can up and over the grenade and actually lands right on top of the boxes. If you time it right, you do a lot of damage. Ooh. Speaking of which, Jacob has caught that grenade.
Yeah, there's still another as well. If he does bank that over the top, it could be about to wreck it. Now, the most painful thing that could ever happen to a team is if you buy a Bison, your opposition collect it, and then they kill you with it. That would be the worst thing. That, like, if your morale was ever going to be destroyed by anything, it would be losing a round to a saved Bison. There goes the second nade as well. Grass has caught that one. Jacob's lucky to be alive. The problem is now they go pushing into the players that don't really have much at all. Sure, the rotation has come in to try and bolster this a little bit, but Nasty will pick off the first. The thing is, a lot of players are becoming low, but if they get a couple of kills on the entry, it really won't matter too much. TMB, he's doing a fantastic job, though, and looking on the side, he's already caught a couple. He gets one more and just looks to clean it up. It's left all on to Dennis. He's facing off against a Deeg and a trusty Bison in a 1v2.
48 HP. Back to the wall. Oh, don't beat Bison! Of every way to go down, that has to be the most brutal, and the grin on the face says it all. Oh, Apeks have got to be so triggered right now.
Right, Dennis is out of this map. I'm just saying that now. Checked out. You don't come back from that. You just got jumping Bison. That's it. Was he in the air? Please tell me he was in the air. Oh, do we not have it?
I'm pretty sure he was. You saw from Dennis' perspective when he died, the play was mid-air. So I think he was. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, you love it. You love to see it.
Oh no, I mean it. He's meant that this pause is for Dennis. That's it. This just like, Dennis, are you okay? He's like, no, I'm never coming back. I've been through all of this stuff. I've been to the majors, won them, done everything, come back, joined this team, and now that's happened. He might retire after this game, honestly. Like, I don't think you could come back. Netric had 0 recorded Bison kills.
We have witnessed history, Tom. His first Bison kill.
And he wasn't on the floor. Oh, God. Well, that's definitely tickled me. Let's take away the fact that the real hero in that round is TMB with a saved MP9, who manages to get a multi-frag on the site. Fantastic round from him, but it just goes back to the points we've been making already. Like, AGF look well structured. Their nade usage in that round was ridiculous. Their positioning, the way they've been playing off each other, been thoroughly impressed. And unfortunately, on the other side, it's just not been the same case. And well, speak of nades, and they shall appear. See you later, Jacob. Nothing you can do about that.
That's precisely why so many teams, especially in Inferno, with a lot of bottleneck, claustrophobic sort of choke points of Banana, will prioritize going for those grenades over maybe a superior weapon, maybe over even getting Kevlar, because you can get those moments come in. Sure, TMB laid all the players down to rest, but it was those early couple grenades on Banana that softened up so many targets. It's something you touched on, Tom. As the play was coming in, that they were in range of those pistols. They were in range of the MP9 to shred and rip them that little bit easier. And now, as we've been talking, AGF have taken a 2-player advantage. Make it 3. Christo will not miss from Library. And Marcelios and Nasty, only with a couple deagles, have 1 Kevlar between the 2 of them, but they're about to run into Netric, who will be feeling pretty confident right now after clutching that last round in the way what he did. 13-6. Apeks, though, do have a bye, but they're running into one of their last real hopes, Tom. If they can't make the most of this, they're going to be in real trouble.
Yeah, I've been impressed as well. Like TMB, another sort of younger player. Of course, this team somewhat, I think it was like sort of almost named like the Academy of North, but not by name. They are a project, and he's only 18 years old, but they playing up against some experienced players on the other side and making it look fairly easy. A very fast move coming out the side of Apeks here, though, but Christo's in position. He misses the second shot. That gives Jacob some space, which, hey, that's not something you want to be doing. Froslev waiting around the angle as well. Molotov onto the side. This could be a problem. The bomb's in the apartment. If this battle goes the way of the CTs, they could just close out the round. And in fact, Dennis has had to try and rotate into position. He finds an instant kill onto TMB, and it's the experience trying to fight back. Jacob gets caught reloading, but Dennis is still fighting. A 1v1, tries to bait in his opponent, and I think it may have even worked. Netric looks to go back, but the bomb not being planted, he now waits patiently for Dennis to make a move.
The same 2 players that we saw a couple rounds ago when Netric leaping round the corner, PP bisoned him in the head. Can he get revenge? Apeks need the 7th. Enough time has elapsed where Dennis has no idea where Netric resides. Patience, a virtue, and AGF will have a 14-6 lead. Netric taking a victory lap around the site before he goes for the defuse. And again, there's that grin.
Yeah, they're loving life. I can see why, though. They're coming out top in most of these clutch situations. And again, this started off so strongly. You had like the walk in from Jacob initially, like getting a load of kills, and then Netric just swipes in at the right time. And the problem is the bomb was so disjointed. They never actually got into an after plant position. They never got all the players together because Dennis couldn't go anywhere with the bomb anymore. He had to try and wrap back. So again, it's a close round, but yeah, AGF come out on top. Clearly feeling confident at this point as they look to try and battle for some early mid control, but there's no real aggression coming out at the moment from the T side. They're just waiting patiently.
One of the slower rounds that we've had. Incendiary's tossed towards middle, actually, just to bypass any very aggressive plays that come into fruition. Smoke down onto arches, but one is returned in from the CTs onto middle. Apeks didn't push through there just yet. They don't have enough intel. Still plenty of time. Slight gap in the smoke. Gross looking to try and make the most of it. Froslev, bit of an off angle. Decides to go in aggressively. Nasty's up against him. He's done so much damage to the 2 of them, but not finished either of them off. And now Netric holds the line, but gets picked off from the Deagle. Although Apeks are hemorrhaging with 2 players, they have the advantage.
And they may not expect 2 players still to be here. In fact, even a third, like, wrapped around on the arch side. Oh, timing, but actually Christo, he gets the shot and still spots the second player. They need to get close to his position, but they don't realize that Lucky's still here, leaving it all onto Marcelicious. Nice shot onto the first, but the response is almost instant. AGF with a pretty decent gamble stack in the end, and now Apeks up against it. They need to win 9 rounds in a row just to get to overtime. And I'll be honest, so far this match, they've been outclassed.
They have, absolutely, 100% agree with you. There's a great bait and switch at the end as well from the positions of Graveyard and Sight. Apeks, try as they may, have been second best in almost every single department. Jacob's had a couple of moments of brilliance, but they have been few and far between. And there hasn't been enough supporting cast. Here we go, aggression again. Christo does not miss. Oh, the crossfire is so good. M4 from Lucky, dispatching of one. Marcelios is basically dead on 21 HP with a Mac 10. Flashbang is good, though. Forcing a chance to push in towards the alcove, Dennis. Now he can look to try and rip back again, but TMP is there. He's waiting, and AGF are about to collect their choice of map. They get it done. It's 16-6.
Yeah, a really solid performance. Like, going into this, I can't say I knew too much about the Danish roster, but as I said earlier, like, you see these sort of younger Danish teams and they have all the protocols. They were very impressive, and honestly, from what we saw from Apeks, it doesn't look like this team is ready. Like, they have got a lot of work to do. Of course, Vince, there is going to be another map coming up, but luckily for us, we do have the analysts that are going to take this away and break down what we just saw.